Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by record-holding world cruiserweight champion and now highly esteemed pundit, Johnny Nelson. Johnny, how are you this morning?
How you doing, Danny? I'm good, thank you. I'm good. It's been a busy, interesting few weeks in and out of the ring, boxing-wise, last few weeks.
Let's talk about that. Let's start with the Sky schedule because that's the broadcast with whom you're synonymous now. You've got a few big shows coming up. Another one was announced yesterday, but let's start with the most pressing, which is October the 15th, the rescheduled all-female card. How excited are you about it? It's a kind of a step forward, a historic night.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think the build-up to the fight itself that should have taken place originally, it was like somebody walking into a nightclub and just pulling the plug out of the DJ because the momentum, the atmosphere, and everything that was happening, it was ridiculous. It was a really good vibe, and so now it's happening. Now the fight's on. Now the opportunity's there. Now it's. I always thought to myself, God, that was the time when you got everybody there. Is Lightning going to be able to strike twice in the same spot and get everybody there, all the fighters there, everybody involved? I felt sorry for the fighters on the day it was announced it was pulled. But now they've got a chance to, if there are any injuries, they've dealt with. Everybody's in the same boat. So nobody can say I overtrained, nobody can say I undertrained, nobody can say I had an injury. You know, everybody's in the same boat. It may make the difference to one or two results. You never know, because when you've trained, in boxing, individuals train for that particular day. Timing is everything. So it's not like football or rugby where you can nudge it on a week or a couple of days. You train for that day. I always found that anything over 6 weeks, I was always gym fit, but anything over 6 weeks, I trained for a fight. I was tired. You know, I was fatigued. I'd left it all in the gym. So it had to be 6 weeks. No, nothing less, nothing more. But these girls here, they had to. It was delayed for 5 weeks, and so how are they going to deal with that? The week of the fight, they'll try and taper down a bit and rest, not do anything heavy. Step in the second week, do some sparring again. You know, get the sharp, keep the sharpness, and keep that diet, which is hard to do. So it's going to be intriguing to see what effect it's had on everybody involved.
Judging it by when you first broke into the sport with Brendan Ingle and turning pro, how far has female boxing come? Because I'm guessing there weren't many female boxers around when you started.
No, there wasn't. And as I said, I come from a multicultural gym, and it wasn't just about the colour of your skin. It was about the sex, your ability. Our gym had everything in. And people found it really odd where you'd walk in the gym and you just wouldn't know who was who, and the girls were in everybody. So Brendan always encouraged that. Unfortunately, there wasn't a platform there for girls to box, but Brendan always encouraged it. So to see it flourish the way it has, and now all of a sudden we're seeing some amazing clashes with the female fighters. It's a great, it's good because what happens is you've got either good fighters or not very good. There's nothing in between. There's nothing in between. So when there's nothing in between, what happens is there's a massive gulf in talent. Now that talent's being closed, and when you saw the lineup of the girls that were to box, that box on the 15th, we had current stars and future stars of boxing. It was a completely good bill, opponents and main fighters.
We're moving on to the end of October, the next Sky show, Hughie Fury and Michael Hunter. Not necessarily a fight that will be easy on the eye. We'll have to wait and see. Hughie can blow hot and cold, but a very important fight on the fringes of world titles in the heavyweight division.
Yes, it is, and yes, unless you listen, it's not a headline. It's not something you think, oh my God, it's a fight you'll get getting excited about. But it makes a difference to the fighters' careers. It makes a difference to get them one step closer to something significant in their careers. And in boxing, this is what happens. Sometimes you have some tough decision-making fights on your career, and it can really slip under the radar. This is one of those. Hunter has been a bogeyman for quite a while. He's never actually just got there. So now what is he? Is he a gatekeeper for Fury? Is Fury? Have we seen the best of him, or is he still a fighter that's got to grow into his frame, grow into his confidence? Because he is a good fighter and works really hard. So again, it's a crossroad that people actually don't realise must be crossed and could be career defining for either fighter.
And then moving into November, Sky announced, or Boxer announced rather, yesterday that they've got a card in Manchester. It's going to be the same night, same venue as Ricky Hatton's exhibition with Marco Antonio Barrera, as was originally the plan. Natasha Jonas continuing on her quest to unify the super welterweight division. But I wanted to ask you specifically about Fraser Clark, because he's had a fair amount, or maybe an unfair amount, of criticism about the level of opposition thus far in his pro career. But he takes a big step up on this card against Kamil Sokolovski, a well-known measuring stick, if you like, among the heavyweights. What do you make of it?
Well, Fraser Clark, he's going through the baptism of fire that all heavyweights have to go through, especially here in the UK. Frank Bruno did it, Anthony Joshua did it, Tyson Fury did it. And so what he's got to do is got to take the heat. You know, it's his introduction. It's his introduction to the public. Now it's got to a point where he's verbally said, "Look, you know," he said, "You got to do something about this," because he feels the pressure's on his shoulders where it actually isn't on his shoulders. You know how his opposition performs. He wants the step ups. He wants the fights that make a difference to his career, because really the fights he's had have just been an introduction. They've not said, you know, oh my God, he can go X, Y, Z. Now he needs fights that mean something, and that's why he's got to that stage. Good
stuff. Now, talking of the heavyweight division, the big news or non-news in the last few weeks has been Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. A lot of talk about negotiations and deals and purse splits, and it looks to have come to nothing. Was it ever likely to happen, that fight, and are you disappointed it hasn't come to fruition?
The public's hopes were risen once again. Because both fighters had put their names to it and actually said, yes, we're involved here. I said before, the book stops with the fighters. The book stops. If this doesn't happen, the book stops with the fighters. If this fight doesn't happen, and this is the closest it's ever been. Tyson Fury, unfortunately for Tyson Fury, there's becoming a backlash now because he's like the boy that cried wolf. And now it's got to a stage where people are just not buying it anymore. They're not giving him that grace anymore, and so I think it's kind of backfired on him. Anthony Joshua came out and made it quite clear: look, I'm signing the contract. You know, there's nothing stops them from preparing for December the 3rd. Tyson Fury said, if I haven't got that, whatever, it's not on his table by 5 o'clock on the Monday, it was off. So now it looks like, yes, whatever the plan was or however it is, it looks like it's on Tyson Fury's toes while this fight hasn't happened. Eddie has come across and said, look, the only person that's not down with this is Tyson Fury. We're talking to his management team about arranging it all. Anthony Joshua said, yes, the only person that said it's off, it's off. Or Tyson Fury could be doing what he did when he boxed Klitschko. Klitschko thought he was a madman. He said, I'm going home, it's not happening. You know, create chaos. Create chaos in it on, is it off? And for all the time, he thinks, you know what, I'll say what I'm going to say. I know this is going to happen. You know, he's willing to fall on his sword. And he's very good at playing that game. You've got to give him that one. But if for any reason this doesn't happen on the 3rd, I personally put it on Tyson Fury's toes. It's him. And even his supporters, you know, no matter if you've got an ounce of intelligence, will tell you, you know what, all right, Tyson, come on, man. You know, everybody else is working around this for that day. You're the only person that said it's off. Even the supporters have got to be honest with themselves, at least amongst themselves. And I'm not saying Tyson Fury's scared of Anthony Joshua, and I'm not saying Anthony Joshua's scared of Tyson Fury. I'm not saying one beats the other. Because on form, you'd expect Tyson Fury to come out and top. What I'm saying is the only reason why this fight won't happen now, it has to fall on the toes of Tyson Fury. Now, whatever they're arguing about, you know, little details in the contract, they both have agreed on a date. So hypothetically, this is a hypothetical, so I can't get in trouble. So say for instance, those little things could be just hypothetically that is, could be things like tickets. Tyson Fury could say, right, you're going to have 10 tickets out of the 90,000 tickets that are available.
Yeah.
Those little silly things, they're the things that could be an issue. But why would you want to do that? Why would you not want to play ball and say, yeah, bring all the support you can. They can do whatever they want. You know, sell them as they've got to go. So it's those little stupid things, petty things, that to me, if you're a fighting man, you know, you think you can do what you want. I'll fight you in a phone box. I'll fight you in Timbuktu. It doesn't matter. I don't need X, Y, Z, but I'll get this done. And they're the things that could be the stumbling block for why this contract wasn't signed on Monday. All hypothetical, of course. But what I'm saying to you is, you've got to, the devil's in the detail. You've got both fighters said, yes, I'll do this. I'll sign that contract. So it is a shame, but there's just a wave. I see there's just a wave coming back. He just to me smacks the boy that cried wolf. So if it doesn't happen, there's no excuse. That's just how it is. And it's a shame.
And looking at the kind of runners and riders positioning themselves for a shot at either Fury or Usyk or Joshua if he gets his chance against Fury and wins, Joyce looked particularly good at the weekend against Joseph Parker. How impressed were you with his performance?
Very impressed. I tipped Joy to pull that fight off, and even though because Joyce is a sort of fighter that looks like there's nothing about him. He looks slow. He looks predictable. He just looks like a big lump, like George Foreman did, until you get in the ring with him. And this man's smashing through you. His pace stays the same. You know, even if he's slow and predictable, he's consistent. And when your energy level drops, that consistency smashes straight through you. And that's exactly what happened with Joseph Parker. Joyce he's had time to mature. May have played a fool to catch the wise, and he's not been given the attention or the spotlight that maybe he could have done, because he doesn't talk great on camera. He's not a salesman, but he's actually a very intelligent individual. But Joyce has proved to me in that fight that this boy, you got to respect him. You got to, whoever's fighting him, he's that guy that's in that Who Needs Him club. Because you get in there. When you fight people like Joyce, and I know because I've had these kind of opponents, I've seen these kind of guys, they're tough and they're big, and you get your shots off in and out. But then what happens is temptation kicks in, and you think, I've got one off, I could get three off. Bam, 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 3 shots in. Yes, I've got away with that. And then he's walking you down, he's throwing your shot, you might miss one, might catch one, and then you're thinking, like, go for another one, bam, 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 you get greedy. Then all of a sudden, your energy levels are going down and down and down and down. And boom, he's got you. And that's how it is, because it's so tempting, because you can see the shot. You can see the combination you get off. You think, maybe if I throw this combination, I'll get him knocked out. But everybody makes the same mistake. Usyk didn't, and the amateurs, but everybody makes the same mistake. So if you're going to fight Joyce, you've either got to be prepared to have a hard slugging match for 12 rounds or pickpocket him. You've got to contain yourself. You've got to be smart. Keep your nerve. Stick to your game plan. Because if you deviate from the game plan, you're going to get turned over.
Now, just before I let you go, next week we've got the clash of Sons of Legends, Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. The hype's certainly been great. What do we expect in the ring?
In the ring. Now, if the fight, again, my argument has always been the weight. The weight, when these guys get inside, what weight will there be? The conditions of the weigh-in. And I think the weight will make this fight, could change the result of this fight. Of course, Eubank has the experience, he has the size, he has the speed, he has the engine. This weight, I just don't see how we can make it comfortably, safely, and effectively. I could get you down to 5 stone. You won't be able to tie your shoelaces.
I don't know if you could.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe with a chainsaw and some medical wipes. But...
yeah, you won't be able to tie your shoelaces though. So what I'm saying is, so I am so curious to see what they actually weigh in at on the day of the fight as well, and because that will tell me a big difference in it. I saw I think it was Liam Williams when Eubank boxed Liam, and he looked drawn at the weight. He looked proper in a state. Now I gather, I don't know how true this is. I gather he can only put on £5, so that means Saturday morning he's got to be 11:10, no more than 11:10. I gather it's £100,000 per fine per pound. He's over, and if he's £5 over, the fight's still going on. Regardless, the fight is still happening. So I think that determines how that fight goes. But I think Ben is one of the most talented fighters coming through, getting better and better with each fight. Timing might be everything for him. Eubank is experienced. He has the size. He has he's been there before, and so this could make a massive difference for both fighters. I'm just struggling to get my head around how they fight and what weight they fight at. But it'll be a good fight either way.
What do you make of Chris Eubank Sr.'s interjection around a week or two ago when he said he was pulling his son out of the fight because he was worried about the health implications as you have just outlined, but still seems to be involved, and Eubank hasn't pulled out.
Well, it shows how much say Eubank Sr. has in the setup. Plus, it's a bit of kidology there, and so I don't think Eubank Sr. has any influence on what his son does going into the ring, or even when he fights. But it got the headlines. It got us all talking. Will it happen? Will it happen? He probably nearly scuppered sales because everybody thought the fight's off. Again, are you playing possum? Is it a fact that he's saying, "Oh, I'm worried about my son making the weight," and then his son gets in there and he makes the weight pretty easy? You don't know, because I'm seeing Junior just eating burgers and stuff like that, just to taunt Ben and wind up the public. And so he's trying to say, "I do this easy, man. It's not an issue." And if it isn't, and his face is a little drawn, little thing, so that's all he's down. So we'll wait and see. But I think with Senior did his job. He got the headlines for the fight. He got people talking about the fight. Almost scuppered sales, but he didn't, as the fight was still on him, but he panicked for 2 days. So I think we can kind of ignore what his dad said. But either way, I think it'll be an interesting fight, an intriguing fight.
Talking of sales, this is DAZN's first traditional boxing pay-per-view in the UK. Yeah. Obviously, they went PPV with the KSI fight recently. Do you think this is the right move for them? Was the subscription model sustainable long-term without pay-per-view?
No, and that's what I'm saying. I think the subscription model was to get the people in to say, "Look, we're not doing pay-per-view. We ain't touching pay-per-view. Pay-per-view's dead." Now they understand you can't operate and pay these guys so much ridiculous money without pay-per-view. It's not greed of the promoters, the TV companies. It's finances. These guys want to get paid a lot of money. Someone's got to pay them. The money's got to come from me, generated from somewhere. And so it was probably a bit of a reality check. You can only give away so much money. Then eventually you've got to start making it back again. And DAZN have probably realised that. And I'm quite sure they say that. I think it's just a bit of an issue with how much they screamed and shouted about pay-per-view being dead. So now it's having to swallow a bit of humble pie and say, "Okay, we get it wrong." But as I say, I'm an ex-fighter and understand fights need paying. And if you're on the kind of money these boys are on, the financial backers of DAZN cannot keep giving dough away. They've got to pull some back in again. So I totally understand it.
And Johnny, I mentioned Hatton Barrera exhibition earlier. You were a legendary fighter. You're still clearly in good nick as well. Have you had approaches about an exhibition, that kind of thing?
I did actually to fight Oliver McCall. And talks went pretty well. I think Carl Froch was approached to fight. God, who was Carl? It was supposed to be on the same bill. They were trying to get Carl to fight Roy Jones.
Yeah.
And I was about to Oliver McCall under the card. Carl being called. He just, if he doesn't need it, he don't need it. That's just how it is. And Carl, if Carl commits himself to something, he's going to commit himself 1000%. But I think it was something like, you know what, he doesn't actually tickle my fancy. I love talking about it. I'm out of that game. Oliver McCall sent me a video. They want me to post out saying, let's get this fight on, just to try and drum up some interest in it. And I looked at Oliver and I'm like, damn, he looks old, man. I think he's only like 2 years older than me. I thought, I am not posing this. So he's saying, come on, Johnny, let's get this fight on in Wembley. I'm like, wasn't Wembley we're talking, mate, in Nottingham. So yeah, I have been approached about it. And but sometimes you've got to say, when I'm done, I'm done. And I understand a lot of these guys, trying to get in on the mix with, what's his name, Jake Paul, because that's big money for a novice fighter. But Jake Paul's doing an amazing job in promoting himself, promoting his outfit, promoting what he's doing. And he's bringing some attention and conversation to the game. He's making a few rookie statements that shows his inexperience. I think he's getting sued by Eddie, I gather. But I probably can afford it. But I can understand why people want to get in that mix. I think any fighter worth his salt, if Jake Paul calls you out, you want to think, what are you talking to? No matter who they are. But Jake Paul, he's actually not bad. A kid can fight a little bit. He's a novice. He has a go. He's strong. He's tough. He's confident. And if he picks the right opponents, I think he's on about fighting Anderson Silva next.
That's next, yeah.
That's what I gather. And if that is right, Anderson Silva, remember, he's not a boxer. He's an MMA fighter, so he's got as good a legs as he has hands. And remember all the hullabaloo and how people went crazy about Conor McGregor fighting Floyd Mayweather, thinking that transition is pretty easy. It isn't. Again, you've got an experienced MMA fighter going to do something new, totally new, against an inexperienced novice, younger man. So it kind of balances it out well. So it's an interesting one, but I'll be intrigued to see how that pans out.
But we're not likely to see you back in the ring anytime soon, except for demonstrations, obviously, for Sky.
Yeah. No, I do. I actually do it. I do actually do charity exhibitions just behind closed doors, though. So I've done a few rugby players and stuff like that, but nothing on that scale. I'm all right. I'm good. When I'm done, I'm done, man. I'm done.
Johnny, I'm going to let you go, mainly so you can let the dogs back in, because they've been outside for a little while now. No, really appreciate it as always. And have a great weekend.
Anytime, Danny. Anytime, man. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Take care.